One morning, Stewie diligently practiced his stretching exercises, while Brian, holding a cup of coffee, walked over. Suddenly, Stewie accidentally got a splinter in his hand and burst into loud sobs that echoed throughout the room. These stairs really needed replacing. Meanwhile, at Peter's workplace, Opie was replaced by a young beautiful girl who was deaf but could easily communicate using sign language and read lips. At first, Peter didn't pay much attention to it, but later, he found it quite lying in bed ready to sleep. Peter and Lois had a fierce argument. The next morning, while Peter was working, Quagmire suddenly burst through the door with an excited expression. Suddenly, his eyes caught sight of the beautiful secretary sitting across. At dinner time, just as the other family members were eating, Peter slipped terribly. When Joe and Peter went to the bar, they were surprised to find that tonight the bar was hosting a special event. Brian met a beautiful blonde named Kate and immediately asked her out. Kate agreed, and they both went to the cinema. Brian felt a bit uneasy, but Kate reassured him, saying she was happy because a blind. When Brian walked Kate home, he was shocked to find out that she hated dogs. Heartbroken, Brian left. The group realized that they were the only ones left in what seemed to be an entirely deserted world. Peter declared that he was ready to deal with any man who showed inappropriate behavior or intentions toward his daughter. Despite this, Quagmire and Meg started to secretly connect through texting. Stewie questioned him, and Brian explained that they hadn't done anything intimate. As he said, taking advantage of her visual impairment, Brian staged a fake situation where he posed as thieves snatching Kate's purse, then pretended to take down the thief but what Brian didn't anticipate was that his blind. Then, he took Kate on an escalator, saying they were climbing the Eiffel Tower, turned on a fan. Excited by this revelation, they decided to follow Brian's nose to locate each of their homes. At Quagmire's house, Brian confirmed Quagmire's real name, and they speculated that he might be. However, she kissed him and was amused, thinking Brian had a beard. Kate invited Brian to meet her parents for dinner, and unlike Kate, Brian, panicking, called Stewie for help, and Stewie promised to come up with something. Meanwhile, Peter wrapped himself in protective padding, hoping that if he fell, he would be unharmed. But the stairs. At the restaurant, Brian, wrapped like a mummy, met. One night, the two of them were sitting on his couch watching a mindless show, with Quagmire inching closer, his eyes gleaming with a different intent. Stewie quickly cut the tail and tried to use fire to burn the base to stop it from wagging. However, before he could finish, Lois stepped in, reminding Peter that if he pushed too hard he might end up driving Meg directly into Quagmire's arms. Reluctantly, Peter let Meg continue her game. An angry Brian admitted that he was a dog, shocking everyone. Quagmire and Meg were now comfortable with each other, laughing and playfully lying together. Kate said that she could overlook the fact that he was a dog but could not accept that he had lied to her. Lois replaced the old stairs, and Peter joyfully ran. Following Stewie's suggestion, Brian. Once they were back home, a big argument erupted between them. Upon reaching Quagmire's place, they saw his car pulling away with Meg in the passenger seat. At that moment, Hope and Ben appeared, demanding that Lois, desperate, pleaded with them, questioning what good it was to pray to God if they rejected his answers. She argued that modern medicine, penicillin, and antibiotics were answers to prayers, a gift from God to help them heal. At the last possible moment, Peter and Lois burst into the cabin. Peter sternly demanded Meg get in the car, telling her that even though she was 18, he was still her father and it was his duty to protect her from people like Quagmire. Meg, seeing the genuine care and love in his eyes, reluctantly obeyed, leaving in silence. Before leaving, Lois gave Quagmire a stern talking to, insisting that he allow her family to use his cabin one weekend every month as a deterrent. On the drive home, Meg reflected on everything that had happened. She realized that her parents had saved her from a mistake she wasn't ready to face. Lois wrapped her arms around her, reassuring Meg that no matter how old she got, they would always be there to protect her from harm. Finally understanding the hidden dangers her parents had sensed, Meg felt a deep gratitude and newfound appreciation for their love and care.